Okay, so internal, like in society, you see like a lot of Western, whites, you'll see them as they're in the magazines and they're pretty and they're skinny and they have good hair and they have, good clothes, and it's kind of like that influenced me to think like, well man, like my society is not like that, and so I start thinking, the white race is superior over the black race because they're exploited more and they're seen as something positive, and so that internal racism turns into horizontal racism. So I started let society affect me, and then it started turning into my own feelings, and then I start thinking like deep down, I'll start believing that whites are better than blacks. Do any of you guys have examples of internal or horizontal examples or experiences?
I also want to mention something. This goes to unintentional racism. I know we've all heard the phrase, it's either black or white. Has anybody heard that before? We've all heard that before, right? Well, when we say it's either black or white, what are we saying?
There's no in between. There's no like.
There's no in between.
Like it's either you're black or you're white. You can't be both.
That it's either right or wrong. And what do we picture as right and what do we picture as wrong? We put white in the place of right and we put black in the place of wrong. And I know this might be mind-boggling to some of you, but you have to remember that you have to critically think about what you're saying. When we say something like, I don't want to go down that dark alley, it's scary. Okay, well, and then when we say things like, you've reached the light at the end of the tunnel, okay, think about that, okay? If people of color are constantly hearing things about dark or black as always being negative connotations, how do you think that makes them feel? Because they know their skin color. See, for us that are white, we may not understand that, but that's because we are privileged, because we are on the good side. It just doesn't, people who are privileged, people who are in the ages, don't notice it because it doesn't affect them. And when you're constantly shown on the good side, you don't have any of that. It won't register in your mind because it's not something for you to think about. But it's something that we all need to start thinking about, that using colors to describe meaning is racist. It's that unintentional, unaware racism. And we just have to remember that. So I just want to point that out too. And that probably goes into how people of color internalize that racism. Because they're constantly being bombarded and told, by using colors. Like for an example, I'm a gay person. When people say, that's so gay, what are they implying? That it's stupid, that it's wrong, that it's not good. Hello, I'm a gay person and that bothers me. So imagine how a person of color would feel.
And I also want to bring up the subject of biracial color, like when a person is mixed with more than two races, more than two races. And it's kind of like, I have friends who are biracial, and it's kind of like they're seen as even worse because they can't fit into any of the categories. Like they can't fit in, say they're mixed, they're black and white, they can't fit in with the black category because maybe her hair is nicer and her skin's a lighter complexion. And they can't fit in with the whites because maybe, she has features of a black person, And so it's like they don't know which way to go, which leads into that whole society thing, internal racism. And they start to listen to them and they start to want to change, or they'll start acting a certain way just to fit in even more because of what they are, and they can't change it, but because of what they are, they can't fit in anywhere. And so it's a big struggle. And so they end up disliking the race that they are on both sides. Like I have a friend and she's mixed, and she lives with her white side of her family, and they always talk bad about her dad, who's African American, always talk bad about him, So whenever we're out and we're around like, black people, she gets scared. She doesn't know that side, so she kind of, I wouldn't say she's racist against that side, but she's a bit prejudiced against it because it's what she's learned, it's what her family has told her, and so she's not comfortable. And I get a little confused because I say, well, you're half black, that you're a part of it too, that's who you are as well, but it's what she was taught. She doesn't know any better. And so that also plays into a fact of internal and horizontal.
Can I say something
Yeah.
about, remember that show that we used to watch, The Bad Girls Club on Oxygen? Yeah, I know, it's a pretty messed up show, but we love the entertainment. But, remember on season 3, there were the 2 black girls, and one was mixed, one was half white, one was half black, and then the other one was full black. She was a darker black girl. And she, the darker skinned black girl was she didn't like the mixed one because she had lighter skin, because she would say things like, oh, well, my hair is more nappy than yours, you are looked at as more attractive, more guys are going to go after you because you're a lighter skinned black woman. And that's horizontal racism, yeah.
Exactly.
So when I saw that, I was like...
Exactly, because you think they have superior over yours. Although you guys share pretty much the same race, you think that a person was lighter. Even when it goes to full blacks, like I'm a dark skin color black, however my mother, she's really, really light and she has red hair, and you never think that we're related. But it just goes to show that she is 100% black, but because her skin color is a lot lighter, she's perceived as someone who's, who's Hispanic or Spanish, or, she's perceived as those races. And so it goes to show that, like, it seems like they have more advantages because they're not of a darker color than people who are darker color. So, and then it also perceives, like, I'll think that a lighter skinned black would have more advantages than I do, because in a sense they can hide their color, and people would never think that they are a color of any sort but white. And so that starts playing into our mind. All the dark-skinned blacks, we'll start thinking, well, if I was lighter, then I'd have this. If I was lighter, then I'd be more attractive, and people wouldn't perceive me as someone who was something negative. And so that goes to show you start thinking of it too. You start internalizing these things, and you start being prejudiced against people who are the same color as you, but different on the outside, different shade.
Do you think society has also led darker skinned African Americans to start bleaching skin?
Honestly, I don't know. I think it does play a part in it, but I don't think someone, just because they want to fit in, to just go drastically and just bleach their skin. I think it takes a lot for someone to want to change. Not only could it have been society, but it could have been family, it could have been internal, it could have been just problems that they had with themselves all together, mixed in with society, and then they decided to do it. But I don't think society can personally, it could be for someone else, they could listen to what other people say and they can change just like that. But personally, I don't think that it would take just societies, because society has their opinion everywhere we go. And if everybody listened to society right off the back like that, everybody would be changing themselves.
Can I say something about that? Off the Tyra Banks show, they had a show saying, they had on there, and the women, they were bleaching their skin, and
these are women of color. Bleaching their skin.
Bleaching their skin to be lighter, and some of them were doing it for 5 or 10 years, something like that. And actually, one of them was bleaching her children, three younger children, because her mom did it to her when she was younger, and so she ended up doing it to her kids, her 3 children. And I was so shocked. I didn't know. I didn't understand. I was like, you should not do that to your kids.
And that does play a role. It does, and same with like I think we're talking about in our women's studies class about black women changing their appearances to look more westernized, and they're changing their hair and their makeup and the clothes they wear and their figure, because people of color are seen to be more curvy, and so they've gotten bone skinny, kind of what society has thrown towards them. And so I think that society does influence all types of racism and all types of looks and feelings, but it's up to us to figure out which ones we want to have really affect us.
To be aware of what's really going on out there.
Can I interject something quickly? I'm Kushlani, and I'm a women's studies instructor here, and I'm just sort of peanut gallery. But when we're talking about women or people generally, people of color who are trying to sort of fit in with into this mythical norm, and to move our physical appearance closer to that sort of idealized look, I think it's important